If COVID-19 wasn't dominating the news right now, what would be some of the biggest stories be right now? Egypt and Ethiopia are close to going to war due to Ethiopia building a dam on the Nile River. Ethiopia is diverting some water and limiting water flow to Egypt. The Ethiopian government is refusing to honor previous agreements made that detail the rate at which they will fill the lake behind their dam, and they refuse to negotiate any further with the Egyptians. Does Ethiopia have the military strength to take on Egypt? I don't know much about Ethiopian military, but Egypt gets over $1 billion a year in military aid from the USA and have the largest standing army on the continent. Edit: wow, this got a lot of attention. To clarify, I was talking hypothetically. As some good commenters have pointed out, an actual ground conflict between the two seems unlikely, as Egypt would have to either get the permission of Sudan and Sudan to move troops through their nations, or would have to invade them as well. Thanks for all the great responses. Nah, Egypt is second strongest Arab nation. Edit: it's Arab nation, not Arabic. I gotta stop scrolling Reddit after 2 AM. It depends on the type of war though. Ethiopia has wild geography, an invasion would by no means be easy. It sounds as if the Egyptian army would have to be the aggressor in this scenario. Egypt definitely has the stronger military, but it would be a tough war to effectively win. Why wouldn't Egypt just blow up the dam? Ethiopia's ally, Sudan, a nation situated between the two countries, won't let that happen. Sudan supports the dam. Without the dam they face huge floods followed by very low water. They want the water to be stable all year round. Sudan has publicly admitted they want the dam now. Egypt doesn't have the logistic resources or numbers to run a multi-day campaign over 1,500 miles of hostile territory. Ethiopia has high-tech military machinery that's advanced enough to repulse any land or air missile attack imposed by Egyptian military. If Egypt's military forces tampered with the dam heavily funded by China and Italy, Ethiopia could easily retaliate very harshly by blowing up their Aswan Dam, washing 95% of Egypt into the sea and putting Cairo underwater. And trust me, the West won't sit back and watch a predominantly Christian country take a beating by a Muslim one. Egypt equals Muslim country. Ethiopia equals predominantly Orthodox Christian, with an ancient Ethiopian Jew population that has significant ties backed and supported by Israel. Wow, geopolitics are so fucking intricate. It blows my mind how well versed some people are, because that's one area in which I'm pretty clueless. Scientists found the first ever living animal, a parasite, that doesn't need oxygen to survive. This was in February. Link here. More here, need subscription, but interesting abstract. Our discovery confirms that adaptation to an anaerobic environment is not unique to single-celled eukaryotes, but has also evolved in a multicellular, parasitic animal. Hence, H. Somnicola provides an opportunity for understanding the evolutionary transition from anaerobic to an exclusive anaerobic metabolism. When I suggested that extraterrestrial life could exist on a planet without oxygen due to them having different needs than human life, my Year 9 science teacher suggested I was stupid and that all life needs oxygen to survive. Who's the stupid one now, Peter? CRISPR was just successfully injected into a live patient to treat genetically caused blindness. Alex Salmon. Whoa, that's awesome. Much easier for him to tell which direction is upstream now. That PG&E was responsible for the California fires, and plead guilty to manslaughter of 84 people. Only 2 days ago, and already slid off the front page. I heard they're likely going to file bankruptcy. Yes, actually they already did file bankruptcy last year. The NTH room sex crime case in Korea. Please read about it if you can. It's absolutely horrifying. Edit: wow, did not expect this many responses. First time I've ever received so many replies. I see that some of you want to know more details, so I will leave a link to a blog post that someone posted on Naver. It's detailed summary of what it's all about. But, please do not read if you can't handle graphic content. It's very violent and sexual content, and I don't want to trigger anyone. Read with a strong heart. Victims including middle school students? I don't think I want to look into this any more than that. Frown, those poor girls. Yes. Currently, the youngest known case is 9 years old. Astronomer here. We might have a bright naked eye comet next month in the northern hemisphere, our first since 1997. Comet C/2019 Atlas Y4 is brightening really quickly, and by May might be one of the brightest things in the night sky. I mean, comets are notoriously tricky to predict in brightness, as it might just break apart as it gets closer to the sun. But it's really exciting to think about, albeit no one has heard about it because of the pandemic, though granted, doesn't a pandemic need a bright comet? Edit, you might be able to get it in binoculars right now, or at least have fun trying. Here is a star chart for it. And yes, the last bright northern hemisphere great comet was Hale-Bopp, which was up for about a year to the naked eye. If you were a southern hemisphere resident in 2006, however, you probably remember Comet McNaught. Edit 2, because many are asking, that bright star in the evening sky is actually Venus. It's around its peak brightness and height right now, and you should go take a look if your social distancing allows it. Might as well take a break from Netflix and look at a whole nother planet. Smile. Edit 3, no, there is no chance of the comet hitting us or affecting life on Earth beyond potentially getting bright. I would hope the locusts plaguing East Africa, the Middle East, and the Indian subcontinent. It's describing some swarms as being the size of New York, and they are eating their harvest, threatening widespread famine. I think without coronavirus we would mobilize to try to control this population the way we did for Zika-carrying mosquitoes in the Americas. Edit, this NPR article describes how in 2018 an unfortunate series of cyclones from the Indian Ocean hit an extremely remote area of the Arabian Peninsula known as the MT Quarter. This produced extraordinary rain and gave them what they needed to breed. Because a second cyclone hit occurred during their breeding cycle, instead of drying out and having most of their population die out in the desert, the population exploded. In favorable conditions they can multiply by 400x their population every 6 months. Then they mass migrated. Also, for clarity, a swarm was identified as 3 times the size of NYC. The Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell case is still alive and well. If anyone's interested in this, I wrote a longest comment for our Out of the Loop when it was first breaking that should take you up to about mid-February. This is one of those stories that's going to get bigger as more details come out. As with any story like this, there's a veritable smorgasbord of information, misinformation, speculation and finger-pointing, but, well, it's not looking good. It's still in progress, but if you're expecting a happy ending, this probably isn't the story for you. What we do know is that 2 children, 17-year-old Tylee Ryan and 7-year-old Joshua J.J. Vallow, haven't been seen since September 2019. Tylee is the child of Lori Vallow and her third husband, Joseph Ryan. J.J. was adopted by Lori and her fourth husband, Charles Vallow, at a young age. J.J. Vallow is the grandson of Charles Vallow's sister, Kay Woodcock. Charles Vallow is J.J.'s adoptive father, but also his great-uncle. The family trees on this one are complex. By all accounts, the marriage was a relatively happy one until a couple of years ago, when, according to Charles Vallow's brother-in-law, Larry Woodcock, suspicions arose that Lori was having an affair with a man named Chad Daybell. Daybell is a Latter-day Saints author of religious-themed books, including dozens of books on apocalyptic events and near-death experiences. By all accounts, Lori became increasingly fixated on religion during this time, becoming obsessed with the idea that there would be a second coming in July 2020 and that she was going to be one of a special 144,000, the latter of which is in line with LDS teachings that there will be a group of high priests raised to spread the gospel at the end times. According to court documents, Charles noted that Lori claimed to be a translated being who cannot taste death sent by God to lead the 144,000 into the millennium. This led to suspicions that Lori was in a cult. Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell worked on a podcast for which the production company, Preparing a People, has released a statement clarifying that they are not, in fact, a cult, merely a religious materials production company. That said, they also included the line, "We formally are notifying all media and individuals to cease and desist from mentioning the Preparing a People event brand, or our media company in any negative connection with Chad or Lori Daybell, or their case." So to reiterate, that's the Preparing a People event brand, the alleged cult and definitely employers of Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell, who are wanted in connection with the disappearance of 2 children and potentially the murder of 3 other people. You can't just threaten strangers to keep your dirty laundry secret, you guys. That's not how the internet works. In February 2019, Charles Vallow sought a divorce from his wife, as well as a protection order after she, allegedly, according to his sister, threatened him with violence if he got in her way. Charles Vallow was shot and killed by Lori Vallow's brother, Alex Cox, in July of 2019. Before that, Vallow had switched the beneficiary of a $1 million life insurance policy from Lori to his sister Kay, JJ's grandmother. According to Vallow's former lawyer, Stephen Ellsworth, Charles had warned him about a perceived danger to his life. Ellsworth reported Charles as saying, "I'm afraid I'm gonna be killed, and I know who's gonna do it. I'm telling you, Steve, so that if something happens to me, I wanna make sure you let everyone know that something happens, I'm killed, that it's my wife Lori and her brother, Alex Cox." Cox claimed that it was a case of self-defense, after Vallow attacked him, but the case was never conclusively settled. Shortly after Vallow's death, Lori removed JJ from a school that specialized in the care of autistic children, claiming that she had found a new job in California and would be moving JJ there. So far, all of this has taken place in Arizona. Rather than moving to California, Lori moves the kids to Rexburg, Idaho in August, where Chad Daybell is located and, it's worth noting, a town that's estimated to be 95% Mormon, and enrolls JJ and Tylee into school. That's pretty much the last time they're seen. Now, while this is going on, Chad Daybell is married to his wife, Tammy, with whom he's been together since 1990, and founded a religious materials publishing company which put out his writings. In October 2019, Tammy Daybell claimed that a masked man shot at her with a paintball gun. As she put it, "I had gotten home and parked in our front driveway. As I was getting stuff out of the back seat, a guy wearing a ski mask was suddenly standing by the back of my car with a paintball gun. He shot at me several times, although I don't think it was loaded. I yelled for Chad and he ran off around the back of my house." 10 days after this, Tammy Daybell died of what was assumed to be natural causes. She was buried shortly afterwards, without an autopsy. The police did attend the scene but apparently didn't find anything unusual, per Fremont County Sheriff Len Humphreys. "My deputies responded and, as we do with most unattended deaths, they took pictures, they looked it over and contacted our detectives. The detectives had a few questions, they satisfied those, got the information they needed and didn't see anything that alarmed them. To my knowledge, he, Daybell, was responding like anybody would whose spouse had just passed away. That's why the deputies didn't suspect anything suspicious." Shortly after this, within weeks, Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell get married in Kauai, Hawaii. The kids are nowhere to be seen. Tylee allegedly sent a text to a friend on October 25, but that's the last of any sort of contact, and even that isn't necessarily accurate. The Daybells were subject to a welfare check on JJ in November, after family members complained they hadn't seen or heard from him in months, but when the police arrived, the Daybells claimed that JJ was with relatives in Arizona. When they checked up on the story, they found he hadn't stayed with the people the Daybells claimed. When this information comes in, police go to have a talk with the Daybells. And they've vanished. This takes us to November 27, 2019. Convinced that there's something suspicious going on, police start to take a closer look at Tammy Daybell's death, and her body is exhumed on December 11 so that toxicology tests can be performed. The results are still pending. On December 12, Alex Cox, Lori's brother, and the man who killed Charles Vallow, was found dead in a house in Arizona belonging to a woman he had married in Vegas 2 weeks earlier. The cause of death is unknown, and, again, toxicology reports are still pending. And that's mostly where the story sits right now. The Daybells turned up in Hawaii and are refusing to answer questions, and there have been numerous appeals from the Woodcocks asking for information about the kids. The Woodcocks filed for guardianship, which is still pending. Lori Daybell was delivered papers informing her that she was legally required to produce JJ and Tylee to the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare or Rexburg Police Department in 5 days, a deadline which passed on January 30. Police in Hawaii have been investigating the Daybells, but at the time of writing no arrests have been made. The reason this is getting national attention now is because of a Dateline special entitled Where Are the Children?, which aired on February 14. Given the Daybells' continued refusal, or inability, to produce Tylee and JJ, you can expect there to be developments on this story in the coming days. This isn't one that's likely to just go away. Lori Vallow was arrested in Hawaii on February 20 on 2 felony counts of desertion and non-support of dependent children, resisting or obstructing officers, criminal solicitation to commit a crime and contempt of court. Chad Daybell was not arrested. Probably the oil price war actually. Saudi Arabia is trying to force the Russians into cutting production since they won't play ball with OPEC+, and US shale might pay the price as we need high cost for this entire industry to function. I work in the oil industry. This is huge right now. It's honestly just about the same as the coronavirus for us. Ours getting cuts, people losing their jobs, etc., all due to oil price and not coronavirus. US shale is paying the price. Even without the virus, it would kill our economy. Yes, it did start before coronavirus, but the impact happened at the same time. The reason oil price cratered was because OPEC+ had an emergency meeting after demand fell in China due to the virus. At the meeting, Putin and MBS had a dick measuring contest, and now they're both losing money producing as much as they can to fuck with each other. This can't last forever, but might last long enough for US shale, Canadian tar sands, and other worldwide producers to go bankrupt. This is amazing for China though. Going to boost their recovery. In Australia, effectively a war crime our elite forces committed in Afghanistan. Here is the story from ABC, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, which features the video and also a blow-by-blow of the encounter. There's a video of a squad of our SAS confronting a man in a field. He is compliant and unarmed. The SAS guy asks "Want me to drop this cunt" a couple of times and is told to radio the superior. He does, but you can't hear the response. He then shoots the man. There have been stories breaking in the past of other very questionable or fucked up activity by the SAS in Afghanistan, but, as far as I know, that never had video accompanying it. The video of this encounter confirms there wasn't some misunderstanding or panic. Just a cold-blooded killing. If I may wear my tinfoil hat for a moment, it's terribly convenient for the government and armed forces that this news broke in the middle of this crisis. A lot of people I know either didn't see this break or only read the headline and assumed it was some kind of misunderstanding. Edit, added link for those interested. Maybe not the biggest, but ones that could have gotten way more traction. Linda Farstein sues Netflix, claiming they defamed her character with When They See Us. Greenland and Antarctica are melting 6 times faster than they were in the 1990s. China pulls credentials from journalists at 3 major U.S. publications. Australia is recovering somewhat from the disastrous fire season, but there's still the fear the next one could be just as bad or worse. Reply if you'll want more stories. Edit: okay, you wanted more, here's some more. Police on Greece's border with Turkey used tear gas and water cannon to repel hundreds of migrants trying to get into the country. Tom Brady leaves the Patriots for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There was an attempted mass shooting, assault in Garden Grove, California. Teachers' union strike concerning failed negotiations. Blind man fails citizenship test after being denied Braille. Edit 2, as u/sing and play 65 pointed out, the original student protest link was about the teachers' union striking about failed negotiations. I actually mixed it up with this story, which is about students at Kennedy Catholic High School who planned a protest about 2 gay teachers pressured to resign.
Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, click the notification bell, and check out our other videos.